Alright everybody, what is up? What is up? As always, thanks for stopping by to another video today. We are just about ready to pull out the 2022 Harley Street Bob from storage. Checking out some of the bikes, the Ducati Scrambler. It's actually my buddy's bike. He did a lot of work to that. It looks pretty cool. And here we go, we're getting closer and closer. Oh, there she is, the 2022 Street Bob. Nice and cozy all winter, looking good. So yeah, I think basically what I'm gonna do is just go ahead. We had it on the tender all winter, so we're gonna get that unplugged here. Alrighty, so there it is. We have pulled the Street Bob out of storage. We are excited to go ahead and get this thing back on the road. Let's give it a little walk around. Remember all the stuff we did to it? We got the LaPera kickflip seat. We worked with Memphis shades on the fairing here. We got, I think it went with a 9-inch vented fairing. Got the Cobra neighbor haters on there. Let's go ahead and fire it up real quick before we hop on. Oh man, I am so excited for this. Alrighty, let's hop on, take this thing for its first ride of 2023. Alrighty, so we are on the bike, on the maiden voyage for 2023. Man, I was a little nervous when I started the thing up for the first time. The check engine light was on for a little bit. I don't know how that had something to do with like sitting all year or something like that, but then I fired it up, sloshed around the gas a little bit, tightened up the gas cap, fired it up, turned it on and off, but luckily that thing cleared. But yeah, so let's go ahead and get this thing back on the road for the first ride of 23. Man, it's weird hopping back on this thing again after riding the Sportster all winter. Like I said, I hit probably like 600 miles on the Sportster over winter, and like not riding this thing for a while kind of takes time to get used to it again. It's like, you know, you get on this bike and it's just a little bit bigger, you got a lot more space, you got a lot more power, obviously. It's like the clutch hits different, the throttle hits different, the handling, all that stuff is just totally different. You get so used to one bike for a while, and it's kind of like foreign a little bit hopping on this thing. But man, I tell you what, I'm excited to get familiar with this thing again. I remember I really fell in love with this bike towards the end of winter. So if you recall, I ended up getting this bike in about, I think it was September of last year, September 22. It's a 22 model, obviously. And when I first got it, I was a little bummed. I'm like, man, it's coming up on winter in southeastern Pennsylvania. I don't know how much I'm actually getting to ride this thing, like how much time I'm gonna have to do modifications, like all that fun stuff you want to do when you get a new bike. But luckily, I gotta be honest, I was able to put 1,000 miles on this bike before I ended up putting away, and that was from I believe like October to the middle of December. I was pretty happy with the way I was able to get myself acclimated, you know, back to the bike, getting familiar with the power, all that good stuff. But then obviously I put it away and I was on the Sportster for a while, and man, that thing, I'll tell you what, man, you got to give props to the Sportster, because you just cannot go wrong with that bike. Like, it's just so consistent, so reliable, so dependable. I rode that thing for probably like 600 miles over winter in some pretty bad conditions. Like, obviously, if you look at these streets and stuff, like riding around Philly in the first place is tough, but that Sportster held up awesome. Yeah, I mean, look at these streets, man. You're riding your motorcycles on these things, you got to be watching out for all these crazy potholes, debris, and all this. Look at this. This is insane. That's one thing I don't miss for sure. But anyways, like I said, I'm excited to have this thing back in my possession. So we got more modifications that we got on the docket for this thing. Not going to reveal all those yet, but some will be a little bit performance, some will be a little bit aesthetics. And then of course we got a lot of trips we want to keep doing on this thing too. So obviously being the Street Bob, a little bit bigger bike, a little bit better handling, we're going to take this thing a little bit longer distance than the Sportster. Obviously we'll obviously still have the Sportster for some of our, you know, day-to-day stuff, running errands, bar hopping, cafe hopping, roaming around town, roaming around the city, maybe like some day trips if I decide. But I'm really excited to get acclimated with this thing on a long trip, because I think the longest trip I did with it last year, well, not even a trip really, I would say, was probably when I picked it up from around Danville, Pennsylvania. It was like maybe 300 miles round trip, I think it was. So that's what I put the bulk of the miles on, was just picking the dang thing up. Yeah, man. Oh man, even just having this thing around town is actually pretty fun, even though it's a little bit bigger. You got to be aware of some of that momentum and the power. You can just duck and dive this soft tail frame in and out of traffic and stuff like that. But then again, also don't forget a huge shout out to HCG Moto Garage. That's where we picked it up. That's where we stored it over winter. Obviously such a great option, great feature to have in a city like this, where storage and space is a lot of the times pretty limited. If you have a motorcycle, not a whole lot of garage for the common person around this area. But huge shout out to them, huge thanks to them. Again, they are looking to do some cool stuff in 2023 as far as setting up events, setting up rides. They're going to be looking for some cool space. They're going to be renting out cool bikes. They're going to be adding to the fleet. If you want to test ride any of the bikes or cool stuff like that, definitely hit them up. I will link the information down in the description. So I think we will start to wrap this one up. Obviously we are excited to now have both the Sportster and the Street Bob back in my possession to ride around. It's always good to have options. 2 bikes is definitely better than 1. So of course, if you are interested in anything we got going on around the Philly area, motorcycle related, Street Bob related, Harley related, Sportster related, all that good stuff, make sure you go ahead and like this video and subscribe to the channel. Be a friend, tell them a friend, tell them to stop by, check out everything we got going on. And of course, as always, make sure you ride safe out there, guys. Make it a good one. It's the Moto Jawn. We'll see you all on down the road. Peace.